Now that you've decided to play Archer, which is of course the right choice, you get to play your mobile killing machine that has a whole bunch of trick arrows, but you need to know your abilities. Now, in order to denote your class, you need to have an orange sash. This tells everyone that you're an archer and that you have these awesome arrows and for them to watch out for you. The next thing that you need to understand is the weapon kit. Obviously, as an archer, you have access to a bow. Now, I may talk about this later in the video, but I need to talk about the special properties of arrows. Your arrows are able to break weapons. So, if an arrow comes and hits a sword, oh no! The sword is broken. If an arrow hits someone's armor, it is armor breaking. This means chainmail, leather, gambeson, all that is pretty much gone once an arrow hits it, which is great because instead of taking 3 hits to that location, only 1 destroys their armor. One other ability of arrows is that they are armor breaking. This means if a person's armor is valued at 3 points or lower, instantly gone. So generally, chainmail, gambeson, leather, that stuff, once it's hit by an arrow, it's destroyed. If an armor was 3 points, then it would take 1, 2, 3 for normal weapons. But for you, you're able to shatter that thing in just 1 shot. The other properties that arrows have is that bounces and glancing blows count. Now normally in Amtgard, if an arrow just brushes by like that, it wouldn't count for a sword strike. Grazing pass, it doesn't really count. But with projectiles, all glances count. Ooh, it's great. What's even better is that bounces count. So if you try to block it with your arm and then it deflects into a friend, not only is your arm gone, but your friend is also hit. Bounces are amazing with arrows, and that's why bows are just so broken. But you also have other weapons. The other weapons that you can use are daggers, dual wield daggers if you want, or have daggers as a backup in case anyone gets next to you. But a more practical weapon is a short sword. You could have short sword and dagger, 2 short swords. You could have them holstered. You could have them so that if anyone comes up to you, you can take these weapons out and fight them if you need to. But these are optional. Now these are the only weapons that an archer gets. But what about shields? You don't need shields. You're supposed to be protected by your allies. You're supposed to shoot people from far away. You're not gonna get hit. That's obviously the best answer. But what if you do get hit? Well, Archer has that covered too. Archer allows you to wear up to 2 points of armor. So if you have armor on, even a stray arrow from another archer or some other long-range projectile will hit you and you could say, ha, points or armor, and you'll be perfectly fine. Now on to the archer abilities. The ability that lets you go and pick up your arrows is called reload. You would state, I've knocked my arrows to my bow. I let them fly, my quiver is low. Now I pause to go reload. You say that incant 3 times in order to get your arrows back. Well, you'll have to go and pick them up, but you will be considered out of game. Now, what this means is that no one can attack you, no one can cast any ability on you. You are able to go and pick up your arrows without hassle from anyone while fighting is raging on. If there is fighting within 10 feet of an arrow, you can kindly ask a reeve, hey, could you help me get that? But try to stay away from the fighting, don't get involved. We don't want to step in and then get rammed over when it wouldn't be good for us. So be careful when you collect your arrows with the reload ability. A good way to be careful about this is to let people know that you're retrieving your arrows. You don't technically have to say anything, but you can say out of game or retrieving when you go to retrieve your arrows. If you do this, people won't start hitting you consistently. They'll understand that you are either dead and collecting arrows or using your awesome ability to go and collect arrows. And the best thing about reload, it's chargeable. So you have an infinite amount of reloads that you can do, and you don't have to die ever to get back your arrows, which is great. Now on to specialty arrows. These are the reason why you're playing Archer, so you could be Hawkeye and have an answer to every situation. How specialty arrows works is that you are able to choose 2 separate specialty arrows at level 1. And if you have looked the part, you are able to choose an extra specialty arrow. That means you could have 3 specialty arrows. Now the rule for specialty arrows is that they cannot all be the same. What I mean by this is that when you get your first level in Archer, you have 2 arrows. They cannot be the same. So you could have a poison arrow and a pinning arrow. But because you have looked the part, since of course you're going to be garbed up, you're going to be looking good and everything, you are then able to get another arrow. Now this other arrow can be a second poison arrow, or it can be a second pinning arrow, or you can make this third arrow be a destruction arrow. So you have all 3 pretty special arrows for any situation. Now that we have how to pick out your specialty arrows covered, we need to figure out what they actually do. Well, This is a pinning arrow. A pinning arrow will act as a normal arrow, but its special ability is that if it touches anything on the person or them, so if it touches their chest, their arm, their armor, shield, even if it wishes past their garb, whatever else, it has an engulfing effect to make them stop for 30 seconds. Stopped means I can't move my feet for 30 seconds. Your pinning arrow is also sorcery. Now I know you don't need to worry about schools for most things, but all you need to know is that very few things are immune to sorcery, and your arrows will work on just about anyone. Now, the next specialty arrow that you have is a destruction arrow. Now, a destruction arrow has the special properties of destroying a shield and destroying armor. Why is this important? Well, your arrows cannot normally break shields. I know it sucks, but this lovely arrow can. So you shoot at a shield, pow, and it's gone. Now, warriors have a special ability called Harden, which means that you cannot break their shields with arrows. Sad day. But what you can do is, for normal armor, you are able to destroy it completely. Now, arrows are normally armor breaking and weapon destroying. So if it hits a weapon, it destroys it. But if it hits someone's armor, it only breaks and destroys it if it's 3 points or lower. Your destruction arrow, though, oh baby, that's able to destroy plate mail in one shot. It completely destroys any armor that it touches, and it is awesome. Now, the last specialty arrow is poison arrow. Now, poison arrow is able to kill someone if it hits them on a wound. Any wound. It could be a limb, chest, whatever. Anytime it hits any part of their body, they're dead. So bouncing is awesome with a poison arrow. Now, the last thing that you need to, well, the two last things you need to keep in mind with your specialty arrows is when firing them, you need to say the name of the arrow. Poison arrow. When firing, it needs to be heard within 50 feet. This is so that your recipient actually knows what arrow they're getting hit with. It's always good to know how you're getting hit. So how do you like archer at first level? Are you satisfied with the abilities that you get just for starting as an archer? Don't worry, there's many more tricks that will come in your book, and eventually you'll have a whole quiver full of trick arrows. It'll be splendid. If you liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe if you want to hear more about archers, Amtgard, or Larp in general. Don't forget that we upload on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and this has been Wizzo, signing off.